What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Players Club. Whether it's your first time, you're joining back with us again. I'm Darien. This is a podcast by the players, for the people, and here we are with week 3 at the Players Club. Here we are recapping week 2. Here's some thoughts. I played our first home game this past weekend against South Carolina State. Here's an interesting fact off the top. You would never know this unless you know some of this stuff, but South Carolina State Bulldogs have more Hall of Famers than Clemson football. And so that was one of the stats that was put in front of us this weekend, because obviously every week in college football, there's big teams that are supposed to win games that don't happen. Just look at this past week. I'm not going to say any names, but I will give my boy Zarek Cooper some credit, former Clemson guy who had a big win this weekend against Florida State with a team that wasn't supposed to win. And so for us, like, you go into a game like that, the coaching strategy on our end is like, hey, like, don't overlook any opponent, play to a standard. Because when you start to overlook opponents, you get beat by teams that should beat you on paper, but the game's not played on paper. Yeah, week 2 we played South Carolina State at home. It was our first home game with packed stadiums in 2 years, which is, man, if at Clemson we miss the fans, because that's what makes the atmosphere what it is. 80,000 people rocking with you, a sea of orange running down the hill, and it's like everybody is just tuned in, yelling. It's incredible. If you're tuned in, that you were at games, thank you for coming back. We missed you guys so much. And just in regards to the packed stadiums, looking back, I and all the guys who were part of last season went through one of the weirdest, abnormal years of college football. And just getting the vibe these first 2 weeks of college football, I'm going to go on record and say this will be the most appreciated season of college football, because we knew what it was like to not have it, and I think we took it for granted. And now we have everybody back. This thing's rolling. College football is at play, and it's the best thing ever. So I think this will be the most appreciated season of college football, and I can't wait to see how the year unfolds. It's been a breath of fresh air to be back in normalcy. So yeah, like I said, this weekend we played South Carolina State. Had a really good game. We won big. And in games like that, for us, it's a time to develop our team. You want the guys who run out there first to really do their job. So it gives guys that are either maybe redshirt or guys that don't play a lot, that deserve the right to play. You give them opportunity to finally play. Certain coaches will allow the playing roster to dress out, but the rest of the guys will have to sit in the stands with the fans. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Like, you would never know that stuff unless you're in it. Like, a lot of guys, other schools, big time schools, don't get to dress out. They'll sit in the stands with the entire crowd, with their family. They'll come to the game, and you would never know they're on a team. But they practice every day, show up to the lifts, and probably on a scout team. And so I think it's so cool that Coach Sweeney allows so many guys to dress out. And then when we're able to, he tries to put everybody in the game. And it's so cool because you see guys in there like at Clemson, like on the field, and it's so cool for those guys to play in front of their families and in an atmosphere like no other. It was a crazy week in college football. Like, you guys watched so many good games on this weekend. But I want to give a shout out to my guy Zeb Nolan down in South Carolina. We had him on last week at the Players Club. His second win from grad assistant to coach, 2-0. So shout out to him, man. If you haven't watched the episode, go back and watch it. He's got the craziest story in college football. But coming up next, Kirk Herbstreit, college football royalty. And I got to be honest, when all this NIL stuff dropped during the summer, when I figured out I want to do a podcast or broadcasting type of thing, he's one of the first guys I called. I played with one of his sons, so I was able to have a little relationship there. But anyways, guys, we're going to talk about all that and more with our conversation coming up next. You don't want to miss it here at the Players Club. Players Club, here we are with guest Kirk Herbstreit, college football legacy, legend, all the above. Glad to have you on the show, my man.
Hey, great to be with you, man. This is pretty cool.
It is, man. I know we talked, so we had a conversation back in the summer. I want to get started doing this, broadcasting, sports, all the above, and trying to get my reps in. So here's my take at it. Here's my shot.
That's good. Like I said, I got into this by chance. I was a business major at Ohio State and thought I would just get a job. You know, when the NFL wasn't in my future, I just thought I'd be like a pharmaceutical sales rep, or there was a company called Worthington Industries. And I was interviewing with all these companies and ready to take a job. And then a local radio station offered me a job for $12,000, which was significantly less money than these normal traditional jobs. And I grew up listening to talk radio. And I just said, man, I'm not ready to grow up and be like a real adult yet. I'm going to do this radio thing. And I didn't have any of these kind of reps. I didn't have any of this kind of vision the way you do. So I applaud you for doing this. I wish if I could go back, it'd be such a different path for me. It's obviously worked out okay for me, but I didn't. My reps were doing interviews with the media. That was probably the way I got experience. But this is phenomenal for you. And I guarantee you, remember this interview right now and how you feel. And if you keep doing this, fast forward a year from now, and just wait until how different, how much more confident, how much more you understand from just not having experience from doing it. So yeah, this is awesome. You're doing this.
And like you said you didn't want to grow up. I'm not trying to grow up either. That's why I came back for another 6 years. So here we are. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just to get into some stuff. So basically this takes us right into NIL. Obviously you're an ambassador of college football, and you've seen the landscape of college football be where this was never a thought, and it's now become a reality for us. What do you think about NIL? Just like first thoughts. And obviously you have a son that's playing with me at Clemson. You have a son that's playing at Ohio State. So you got some personal ties into it. So what are your thoughts about NIL?
I think it's, I wasn't one of these guys that was like, jumping up and down saying about time. I was one that was like, let me understand it. What exactly is it? How can the players benefit from it, but at the same time not be taken advantage of it? So I was a little bit slower to just throw my hat into the ring. I'm still honestly just kind of observing. I think we're like 7 or 8 weeks into this. I'm still just kind of watching and seeing how players are utilizing it and how they're taking advantage of it. And I think so far from everything that I've seen, first of all, I'm all for players getting opportunities and trying to maximize them. I'm not for, and there's always going to be this segment, I'm not for sketchy adults who are trying to make money off of players whom players don't understand. Like I wouldn't have known when I was a college kid and everything was paid for being on a scholarship. And all of a sudden now I can make whatever it is, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $5,000, $100,000, whatever you make.
Make that number a little up. I know some guys that are.
Yeah. I mean, $1 million, whatever it is, 5 million, whatever you want to make. But sometimes we don't understand half of that's not yours. Like half of that's gone. Like, and I didn't realize that until I started making money. IRS takes that, taxes are gone. Then you got to pay an agent a fee. So there's just real life, applications that I think are going to be learned, either through someone, hopefully a parent, a coach, an agent, whoever it is. Somebody needs to be a mentor. So anyway, I think it's great. I just want players to be smart about it and not lose their focus, which is about lifting weights and getting better as a player. That's the whole reason NIL is approached, is maybe the opportunity's there for you because you're a good player. But no, I'm cool with it. I think let's just be smart with it. That's all.
No doubt. I think that's kind of been my experience too. Just there are obviously a lot of opportunity out there, and I've been in the college football, not as long as you have, but as far as a player, like a long time, and you've seen a lot of opportunities not being able to be taken advantage of it now. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of things that guys are passionate about, they're able to monetize. And I think for me, it's been cool because a lot of guys I thought would go to the league. That's kind of always been a sentiment, like guys will get their money on later. There's several guys, especially at Clemson, that have played here, and I thought they would be in the league for 10 plus years and didn't make it. And they were able to capitalize on like their college influence and platform. And so for me, it's been cool to see me and some of my friends to be able to like kind of cash in on some of those things, because you can leave with a very, head start on your future because you put in the work and all those good things.
Let me give you some wisdom from a guy who's 52 that had nothing. My family didn't have any money. If I didn't get a scholarship, I would have joined the Army or the Marines or something. Right. So I have an appreciation for a scholarship, like I think a lot of people. What I've learned is a day doesn't go by that as I was going through local radio and then trying to get my foot in the front door of ESPN, if I went to Muskegum College or I went to Ball State or I went to Ohio Wesleyan or wherever I would have gone to play football, those doors would never have been open for me, right? So going to Ohio State, what I think NIL is, if you're not careful, and guys like you're talking about going to the league even, they're the only guys that make generational wealth are the guys that get that second contract that's stupid money for $100 million. The guys that get one contract, like CJ Spiller, he had a nice career at Clemson, but he's got to be smart with his money as good as he did, or he's not going to have any money left to pay bills. So my point is, take advantage of, see, everybody talks about the system taking advantage of the players, and that's true if you don't have your eyes open and your ears open. If you take advantage of the system, your relationship with Clemson can last you a lifetime. And I think the guys that look at it like the system took advantage of me, they didn't meet people. They didn't take the time to be polite and courteous to people and build relationships with people, why they mattered at their school. So for me, I was a solid player. I wasn't a Heisman winner. I wasn't an All-American, but I was respectful to people and I shook people's hands and I went out of my way to be gracious to people. And if you do that, I feel like NIL is short-term money. Like if you're looking at living till you're in your 70s or 80s, you're going to make a lot of money, and NIL money is going to be a blip on the radar. And I know it's a big deal at 18 and 19 and 20 and 21, but the relationship with Clemson and the alumni and the boosters that run big, successful companies, if you're smart, and like me at Ohio State, if I'm smart, if I play my cards right and I treat people well, those boosters and those people that run companies, they're going to want guys like you and me working for them in their companies. And so while NIL is fun, it's a cute story, it's great, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the 40, 50-year run. And that's way more powerful than someone sliding you $100 or someone giving you $1,000 or whatever it might be. So it's hard maybe to see that at this age, but as you get older, you'll realize that this NIL stuff is short term. And it's great that you guys can make a few bucks, but what you do as a person, how you represent yourself at Clemson, you're going to find that is going to open up doors for you. And if you went to another school, I don't know if that's the case. So I'm blessed every day that I went to Ohio State and it's opened up all these doors, because there's no money I could have made in NIL that could have ever provided me what my relationship with Ohio State has me where I am currently right now.
100%. And you spoke on something, and it kind of leads us to the next question. You talked about the long haul, playing the long game. What is your prediction? Obviously, how much college sports have changed in the last 10 years. The next 10 years, with NIL like kind of being a reality, other things kind of popping up, what are your predictions for the next 10 years of college football? 2030, what do you think it'll look like? Three things.
I think anytime there's change, Darien, anytime there's change, I think most people are concerned. I mean, but we have all this change at one time. You know, we have NIL, we have transfer portal, we have Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC. We have an alliance now with the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. There's chaos everywhere. And so everybody's just wigging out. Everybody's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It's the end of college football. And I try to be kind of the voice of the sport, you know, try to be the conscious of the sport, try to be the voice of reason. So again, I don't move fast on anything. I'm human. I was like everybody else. Oh my God, what's happening right now? You know, why are the Power Five conferences commissioners not working together? Why are they divided? Like, what's happening? We need leadership. We need guidance right now. And I think it'll hopefully come. I would personally love to see one voice, like a commissioner, like Roger Goodell for college football, that doesn't just look over the ACC or the Big Ten or the SEC, but he looks over the whole country. That would be, I think, pie in the sky for the sport. I don't know if that's reality right now. So I think these five power conference commissioners are going to have to learn to work together. But I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to go to a Power Four. I think the Big 12 right now, with the recent moves, BYU, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati, all going to the Big 12, it kind of feels like the American plus to me. It doesn't quite feel like a Power Five with some of these moves. So I think we're gonna eventually see a Power Four, would be my guess, with the ACC and the Big Ten and the SEC and the Pac-12. What happens to the Big 12? What happens to the American? I'm not really sure. I think they should still be involved. I'd love to see the playoff expanded 12 teams to allow other teams a chance to be able to participate. But maybe you can relate to this. I can't. Like Desmond and I talk about this all the time. Guys skipping bowl games and games, quote unquote, don't matter. Like that's like a virus to my computer. Like if you're talking about a bowl game where 2 6-6 teams are playing, I guess maybe. But if you're talking about
New Year's Six Bowl,
yeah, if you're talking about like you're at the Sugar Bowl or you're at the Fiesta Bowl, or even the Outback Bowl or the Gator Bowl, like, and you're playing a big time opponent, you got one more time to go out with your boys and play. I don't know. I just don't agree with the logic of skipping games of any magnitude. And I know that's about saving yourself, but I don't know. You guys get up at 5 a.m. and lift weights. You're, in the winter conditioning and mat drills and all this sacrifice that you do. If people want to do that, that's their choice. I'm just saying we're in a very strange time in the sport when that's becoming accepted and normal, that we just skip games.
Right. It definitely, I feel like our generation has changed a little bit in that regard. A little more selfish. And you said something, I want to ask you a serious question. Do you think there are legitimate, because when you look at it, I feel like it's always like 4 good teams. You think there's legitimately 12 good teams that can actually play like for a time? I get like the participation, which I think would be cool for fans.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the Clemsons, the Alabamas, the Ohio States and all that, it is what it is, but it's just one game. Like if Clemson were to play on a neutral field against, I have no idea, Oregon, for example, Cincinnati. I mean, who's to say, right? I mean, it's college football and it's, how the power of the mind. I mean, you've been around some of these Clemson teams where basically like, oh, we're playing Pitt at home. This will be an easy win. And you got to guard against that because you can get beat. Ohio State this past weekend, they didn't look like they were really, I mean, Oregon came to play and give Oregon all the credit, but Ohio State, they didn't really realize, man, we better turn it on till the fourth quarter. And by then it was too late. And so I don't know. I feel like Alabama is kind of, and you guys have been kind of at a different level, but if you get 12, I still think imagine number 12 against because 1 through 4 would get buys. So it'd be 12 against 5. So I don't know who 5 is this week and 12 is, but once you get by Clemson and Alabama and Georgia, it's kind of like anybody,
it's fair game.
Anybody could beat anybody, really. So I think it would just create so much juice for the sport and give everybody hope that, hey man, we're 15, there's 2 weeks to go. If we win our last 2 and a couple teams lose in front of us, we could still make it. And I think it creates that. But the one last thing I'll say is there was a time when we all played this sport and we might finish 8-3, but it was just a week in and week out competition, the love of the game. No one really, only 2 teams are going to a championship. No one really played because they were going to a national championship. They played because they wanted to beat South Carolina or they wanted to beat Georgia Tech or they wanted to beat whoever. It was just the competition and wanting to win was really what drove you. And a lot of times you finished 8-3 or 9-2 or whatever it was. And you went to, like I said, the Gator Bowl. And if you won the Gator Bowl, it was a good year. And again, I know times change. I don't have my head in the sand. I'm just saying, I wish we'd get back to just appreciation of competition and not, are we still in it? Do we still have a chance to playoff? No, you don't. Oh, well, season's over. It's like, what? What are you talking about? And I think we've created that. We've created that.
Even just seeing like our first loss of the season to Georgia, which I think watching the tape, how it goes. It's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems either. So wish we could go back, but we can't. I feel like it's going to be a good reason for us going forward, just like all the lessons we learned. But through that game, people are writing our season off. Even like young guys on the team, like they don't know any different. All they see is like Clemson, we're going to the playoffs. And so they read the headlines. Like Coach Sweeney, all of us, the leaders on the team, like, bro, we're good. We're going to be fine. Like it's a week 1 top 5 team, and we're going to be fine. But just like the pressure that's been created through college sports, like especially at our level, is if you lose a game, like the season's worthless. So you shouldn't even show up next week to play. And
so
Coach Sweeney, we got like 12 other games to go play.
I know. I mean, let's just say I hope you don't lose anymore, but let's just say you were to stumble in another game. The season is not over. I mean, what's wrong with going 10-2 and going to an ACC championship and playing in that, and whether you win or you lose, like life goes. It's not go to a championship or the season's a waste. I just don't. I don't get that. Like, think about this. I know Clemson, that's a real goal. What do you do if you're, I don't know, Iowa every year? Should you just not play football? Because, I know they're having a good year this year, but Iowa gets to 8 or 9 wins every year. And, that, not that that's their goal, but I don't know. They don't throw in the towel because, oh, well, we lost to whoever, that season's over. Like, no. Like you always press on. That's what you learn about sports is things aren't always good. They aren't always the way you want. It's called adversity. And do not be that guy or that team that when the going is good, hey, this is fun. And then first sign of trouble, I'm going home. This isn't any fun anymore. It's like, what are you talking about? That's like the opposite of what this sport is about.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse of like today's times. Because the blessing is you're winning games, playing on this stage, and the hype is like no other. So you get blown up to the furthest extent. And then the opposite is true too. You lose a game or the season doesn't go as well, and the media nowadays, you know how it goes. They literally write you off in an instant. Like as much love as they showed you, the next day, you're getting every email saying you should fire the OC, the DC, fire the head coach. And it's like, dude, y'all just thought this guy was a genius 2 games ago. So
yeah,
it's the way to land.
That's not just at Clemson. That's at Alabama. That's at Ohio State right now. Saturday night, the whole city of Columbus, the state of Ohio, wanted to fire Kerry Coombs, defensive coordinator, and it's still carrying on to this day. Ryan Day went to the press conference. Are you gonna make a change at defensive coordinator? It's like, I mean, that like you said, that's part of the power of expectations, But to me, we just can't give in when things don't go well. That can't be the answer to me.
One recent question that I want to ask you about, so I've never been on a team, like my entire 6 years has been with the same coach. Like, how do you feel when you see a coach like a guy US Southern Cal get fired? Like, you probably see him more than I do, but I can't imagine those kids, how they feel. Like, what goes to your mind, like when you see something like that happen? Like 2 weeks into the season, you fire the coach?
Yep. Now, in his case, he's been rumored to be fired for 4 years. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. Yeah. And a lot of people have USC fans have been like, what are we doing? For 4 years, they've been doing that. And USC kind of stood by him, almost to a point where, as you can see, for them to make a move 2 weeks into a season and a first loss, that tells you that this thing's, it's like a water balloon that's just building, and then it explodes. That's kind of what USC has been going through. Just think about going back to your freshman year. I mean, that's how long this has been going on for them. So when we came into this season, they always say coaches on the hot seat. It would have been Jim Harbaugh at Michigan and Clay Helton at USC. I mean, those are the two guys that, they're fans anyway, whether it was real or not, they're fans. So how the players are handling it, you probably have some that are like, man, what just happened? Because Clay Helton's one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet.
That's what I've heard.
Great guy. Or you might have some guys be like, hey, had to happen. So I don't know. I haven't spoken to anybody out there, but it's very rare to see 2 weeks in and a guy get let go.
Yeah, it is. And even my thought process is like, obviously we got guys at Clemson, like Coach Sweeney's coaching tree is growing. You see Nick Saban's coaching tree. And it is a big, like you want to go to a big time school, but you also run the risk of like, they might not give you but 2 years to change around a program. So like, what are your thoughts? Like, obviously there guys are probably really good OCs around the country. They might get that job. Like, I don't know. What is your expertise on like, is it smart to go to a school like that and like take it over? Like,
well, I think Tony Elliott's done and Brent Venables, I think they've both done a really good job with all the success they've had. They've been very, very careful with what they've accepted. They've both been finalists for jobs, both been offered jobs, and both have declined, and they both have their own reasons on why they've done that. I've spoken with both of them, throughout that process privately and just as a sounding board. And I think they're two really good examples of, hey, that got it pretty good at Clemson. We're recruiting at a very high level. We got a lot of continuity. We got a great head coach. We got a great president. We got a great AD. This isn't a flash in the pan. This thing's got staying power, making good money. My family's here, can raise my kids here. So unless it's like a no-brainer, I think you got to be careful. I just think these jobs become available because they're hard to win at those schools. And so, you got to find the right one with the right setup and then go take it. And Tony and Brent both are going to get jobs. I mean, they're eventually going to find the right job for them. But in the meantime, I think they're very calculated and smart with how they're being patient and waiting for the right one. In the meantime, have fun at Clemson, win a lot of games, and have a great place to raise your family.
Who else do you think around the country that may get that job, just off the top of your head?
I think the first name that'll come up will be Luke Fickell. The athletic director is from the University of Cincinnati, and he was here with Luke Fickell. He went out to USC just a couple years ago. His name will be the first name that'll come up. James Franklin at Penn State will be a name that'll be brought up quite a bit. I think Matt Rule, the head coach at Carolina, will be a name that some people will bring up. I think Bill O'Brien, the former Houston Texans coach, who's now the offensive coordinator at Alabama, he'll be a name that'll be brought up. Urban Meyer, just because any job that opens up, Urban Meyer's name comes up.
Man, I hope he doesn't leave my boy. This Sue, I hope he doesn't leave him.
I don't think he will. And the other thing is, this hire is not going to happen until like late November or December, because USC, they can't put, let's just say it's Luke Fickell. They can't put Luke Fickell, who's got a chance, by the way, to make a really fun run this year. They got Indiana this week on the road and Notre Dame next week on the road. If they, for whatever reason, win those two games, they'd have a real shot to be that group of 5 team, the first one to make the playoff. So he's got a lot on his plate. The last thing he needs is rumors swirling that SC's talking to Jimmy Sexton, his agent, about hiring him. So SC's going to keep everything real quiet for the next few months. You have to, out of respect for their candidates.
All right, moving on so obviously you've been doing college game day for how long? On record, how long has it been? You've been doing college game day?
Longer than you've been alive. 26 years this year.
I'm about to say, I'm old now. I turned 24 in November. So yeah, that you're still on point. 26 years, and so I've never. I tailgate a little bit, but you've obviously been to some of the best tailgates, and I haven't had this experience the past 6 years, and things have changed. If you could take me to one spot anywhere in the country, where are you taking me to tailgate?
Okay, so just for an update, I haven't tailgated myself since like 1986. So I see tailgating. I see it. Okay. We go to some cool places. We don't, we're not out there with the crowd. It looks so fun. Like I would love to be a part of that. But the places that look the most fun for me are LSU. LSU would be the number 1 seed.
That's what I've heard, man.
Because I mean, they're campers, and their tailgating starts like on Thursday, late afternoon. Thursday, wow. Nerf football's flying. They got the smokers going. They get
some crawfish. You have crawfish?
Yeah, they get crawfish, all kinds of stuff. It's just great Cajun food, spicy. That's a great spot. The Big Ten, what's funny about tailgating, every different region has different ways of tailgating. You go up to Wisconsin, and it's brats, and it's burgers, and it's meat and cheese curds. Yeah, beer. You go to the SEC, and it's bourbon, and they got a smokers going. It's just such a different vibe. And the way they dress is so different. Like in the Big Ten, people got big jerseys on and, big baggy everything. And then you go to the South, and it's like, are they going to a dance or are they going to a
everybody's going collared shirts and looking to the nines.
Like, what is happening? It's so weird to see how different everybody does it. Ole Miss is the wildest thing you'd ever see in your life at the Grove. We did Alabama, who was number 1 in the country. Katy Perry was our celebrity picker. And the Grove, as far as you could see, it was just humanity. And they got these tents, these little tents that they do, and they have chandeliers hanging in them. And I mean, it must cost $50,000 to do the type of tailgating that they do. I can't even describe it. It looks like a house. Like our cameras went inside these tailgates. First of all, the tent is not like a little tent like you and I would get over at Dick's. These are tents that go on. Like there's like a room. There's a tent that goes over here. This is the kids' tent over there. It's like a house. And over here, the adult beverage section over here. Here's where the chef is in the back. I mean, you're like, what is happening? Like, how do you leave here to go to the game? I would stay there for a week. It's like nicer than an apartment. So you just, when you're done doing this, make sure you remember, go to the Grove, and when they're playing a big game, and just take that in. Yeah, you want to take that in for sure. So there's so many cool spots, and what's neat is the RVs that pile in to all these stadiums. They come in Thursday or Friday, and you know how it is. You get 6 home games out of 52 weeks, and people plan their entire year around tailgating
from all over,
everywhere. Yeah, and they've had this same parking spot since 1975. You know, and they just
it gets passed down through each generation.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. That's probably the best part of college football, is the sense of community, and the tailgating is obviously a huge part of that.
All right, so that's outside the stadium. Inside the stadium, best college football atmospheres.
You guys have a great atmosphere.
I was hoping you would say that, you know.
Yeah, no, you really do. I mean, it's gotten better and better. I think that one of my favorite scenes there, I did 2 games there that were phenomenal. The Notre Dame game.
Ooh. Hey, I was the Hurricane.
Yeah, and Dabo said, "You got this is BYOG. Bring your
own guts." Yeah,
that game, and then I did the Louisville, the Sean
Lamar. That was my freshman year, so that was 2015, 2016, back to back. Those are like monumental games. Yeah.
Those to me were the 2 most. I was lucky enough to call both those. Those are the 2 most hyped up games that I called in there, and I was like, man, this place is loud. This is a great spot. I'm doing the whiteout this weekend. I would put the whiteout up with anybody. When Penn State hosts a whiteout at night, check it out. What time's your Georgia Tech game this week?
3:30.
Okay, yeah. If you get done with the game, it starts at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. When you get done, go back to the crib and turn that one on ABC, and just turn the volume up and just watch that, because that's going to be wild. They play Auburn, Bo Nix coming up, SEC coming up into the Big Ten. It'll be a hyped up game. That's where game day is. But the whiteout is outstanding. Eugene, Oregon, believe it or not, it's not a huge stadium, but it's built into a mountain. And so the crowd noise, and they have one of those at the top of the stadium, one of those sound reverberators that kind of extends at the top. It kind of keeps all the noise down in there. So Autzen Stadium at Eugene, I would say, is a really good spot. LSU at night. I know that, you know, you guys argue over Death Valley and all that, but dude, LSU at night when they're good. Now, right now they're kind of.
Yeah. But 2 years ago when they had the Joe Burrow and the crew.
Yes. You go down there and that place is electric. A&M is really good. A&M is.
We played at Kyle Field. I guess that was the Natty year, 2018. That was rocking.
Trevor's true freshman year. It was like his second game. Yep.
Yeah, he came in for Kelly, threw a touchdown at T.
Yeah. That was the beginning of the end for Kelly.
That's my guy. But yeah, it was already written.
Yeah. But anyway, those are Ohio Stadium. Ohio State's tricky because they're spoiled, kind of like Alabama. If Ohio State's playing an opponent they fear and they're expected to be, you know, they're not favored, or it's a close game and it's like number 3 against number 10, you'll never find a better atmosphere. But if they're playing like a team they should win, it's just, you know, they score a touchdown. It's just kind of like, you know,
golf claps.
Yeah. They've gotten spoiled over the years. That's the same with Alabama. If Alabama feels threatened, it's electric. If not, they're just kind of like, well, don't take it personally. You know, we're up again. We scored again. You know, just kind of golf clapping it.
I will say that's one thing I appreciate about our fans. And maybe I feel like each fan base is somewhat a reflection of the coach. You know, it's just the DNA just seeps down into the people. Our fans show up. We're playing Cyclone State. You would have thought we were playing freaking Texas A&M at home.
That's awesome. That's rare. That's really cool. And you're right. I think Dabo helps create that, because he runs down that hill. He's all about it. He doesn't see it's a faceless opponent for him. He doesn't care. It's more about it's another Saturday at Death Valley for him. And I think the fans feed off of that. That's true.
All right. So when people come onto the show, who makes the best guest pickers?
I think the entertainers, like the people who get it. Like we had Ashton Kutcher on last week, and there was just something about, they just have like a real like, oh man, I don't know, like just they're not trying to like break it down. They're just having fun with it. And Ashton Kutcher did a good job of that. But the musicians, they come on, they're really nervous. That's the thing you forget is we're just out here having fun, but you walk on that set and you get around all those people. And I think they feel like they have to like sound like they know what they're talking about. And we don't want that. We want them to just have, oh man, I sang a song when my first concert was in Kansas. I'm going with Kansas State, something like that.
Right.
The guy who gets it is, of course, Charles Barkley. He's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Bill Murray was at Clemson one time. He was a lot of fun. So, I mean, it's just the guys that just kind of roll with it and have fun are the guys that usually do the best.
Last questions as far as football goes, college football. Who are you most excited to see this year? Like this, like players, up and coming guys. Who's caught your eye?
The Iowa team has caught my eye because they play so old fashioned. They keep the ball in front of them. They play zone. They fly to the ball. They're somewhat limited athletically, but they play as a group. They got a chance this year. They've kind of caught my eye. I think what Oregon did was not a fluke. I think Mario Cristobal has done a really good job of recruiting. I think Anthony Brown, their quarterback, kind of surprised me with how well he played in that game. Their running back, you should watch him if you haven't already. CJ Verdell.
He's a dude. He's a dude.
He'll be an NFL guy. He's really talented guy. And the Georgia team that you guys played, their starting quarterback, JT Daniels, went out, so they went back to the little guy that looks like a kicker, Stetson Bennett, and he was like 5 for 5 for 200 and something yards. It was like a video game. But Georgia look real, man. They look really good. You guys may get another shot at them. Who knows? But
I hope so. I honestly hope so. But we'll see how it plays out.
It'd be great if you did. I mean, I think both teams would be different, obviously, by the time you played. DJ's just kind of still people expected him because he played against BC and Notre Dame and threw for however many yards. It was just like, no problem, put DJ in and away. And I think it was a reality check on he's still a young kid, right? I mean, his future is bright, but give him a chance to kind of get settled in and kind of get some reps like any human being needs. So, but can't wait to see where he is mid-season in the ACC and just see where your whole offense is. I'm interested to see how Ohio State's defense responds. The last 2 of the last 3 games, they've gotten destroyed by Alabama and now Oregon, and they've got to come up with some answers, or they could have some problems. And then I think Oklahoma's real. I think Spencer Rattler, what he's capable of doing. I think that people kind of jumped off their bandwagon because Tulane scored 35 points on them, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're overrated." But it's one game. Relax. And then the last team, I'll tell you. Ole Miss, Matt Corral.
He's got some spunk to him.
He does. He got a little chip on his shoulder. And their defense, man, they were the worst in the country last year. And they've got about 4 grad transfers, or not grad, transfer portal guys that have come in and got them feeling a little bit better. And I don't know if they can play with the big dogs in the SEC West, but they're better. And they're a wild card because of Lane Kiffin and Matt Corral. Let's keep an eye on them this year. It'd be interesting to see what they can do.
I said last one, but I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on the transfer portal? Because I have different thoughts. I just want to know what Kirk Herbstreit thinks.
I think it's a case-by-case thing. I wrote a book recently, and I talked very openly and candidly about my 5 years at Ohio State. And I came in as a highly touted 5-star can't miss guy. And I fell flat on my face. And for 3 years, I was struggling. And I was very cynical and very embarrassed and very frustrated. And, I wanted to quit and I wanted to go play baseball. I just didn't want to be around it anymore. My dad wasn't like old school, get your ass back there kind of thing. It was more encouragement, like, hey, give it another spring, kind of see where you are. And I stuck it out, and it was a game changer for me. I ended up being a captain my senior year and all that kind of stuff. And if I would have left, I don't know the life lessons I would have learned. It worked out for me. It doesn't mean it's the right answer for everybody, but I don't feel good that it's like you've had to work and grind, and, just think if first time something didn't go your way, you left,
right?
So I don't know. I'm very mixed. I like, that's why my answer is case by case thing. Some of it makes sense to me, but just because you're not starting, or just because the coach got upset with you, or just because whatever, I don't think that's a reason to leave. So I'm mixed on that. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I would say it's interesting. It is case by case. And obviously it's kind of ironic too. A lot of guys that leave from Clemson usually don't pan out well. But I will say some of the recent guys, like you got a guy like Hunter Johnson. I mean, when Trevor came in, as much as guys wanted to compete, like you kind of see something like that happen. It's like, all right. And then you obviously see the way it's played out. The dude was the first pick in the draft. And you're like, all right, you kind of like what can you do as a backup, especially at quarterback? You can't rotate quarterbacks if you're going to compete at the highest level. So you got a guy like Hunter Johnson who leaves, is doing well at Northwestern now. My friend Ches Malus, who just went to Wisconsin, is literally like the top 10 in rushing right now. But he was behind a bunch of guys, and he'd have played here but been a contributing backup. For me, it was just like I was like, I'm at Clemson, I'm going to stick it out and see what happens. That's just my personal beliefs. But I have seen guys like that just want different things or feel like they want more opportunity, and like it's worked out for a couple guys.
Yeah. And if you're at a good culture in a good school, and it's not going your way, as hard as it is to understand this, I would say not to leave, because college football, it seems like when you're 18 or 19 or 20 that it's everything, and it should be. But as you get older, like your age, you start to see like, man, this relationship with this school is so much more valuable to me than if I would have gone to wherever and maybe had a chance to get a few more reps. So I think what you're saying is you're in a healthy culture. I assume you like, your position coach, you like your coordinator, you like the people you're interacting with. There's a lot to be said for that alone. That takes a very mature mind to see that, because sometimes all kids see it's playing time and it has nothing. That's it. That's all I care about is I want to play. And I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying it just depends on what your lens, how you view things.
Exactly. And there's so much outside pressure more than ever before. So I get the like the sentiment and the feeling of like I got to go make it. But at the same time, like the big picture, I've seen guys leave good schools and they go somewhere else and play for a year, and they're really not loved at either place. So they don't really have a college home to come back to. And so I've seen guys not have good careers, but are beloved back here at Clemson or other schools. And it's, that means a lot. And maybe
that's so good. That's such a good point, dude. Like for you, you have a home there. Like whether you're Taj Boyd or you're Darien Rencher or anybody in between, if you pour your heart into that program, and whether you're a 3-year starter or you never start a game, you are going to be treated the same by that world. That's your home. I bet you'll have a house down the road at the reserve, or whatever. Like that's your place.
We're going hands open for that one. People like let me go ahead just because there's people watching from all over. So just the reserve is the nice part of Clemson, where the wealthy live. So hopefully I'll get a house out there at some point.
I've been there. I've been there a handful of times. That's a pretty cool little. You got What's the other one? Lake
Kiowee. You got Hartwell. You got Kiowee. You got Joe Cassie.
Yeah, man. You guys, I did not until Ty went there. My son Ty, like I didn't really realize. In Ohio, lakes aren't as big of a deal, as they are there. I don't know if it was like where you grew up, but there on that campus, that's pretty cool to have all those lakes, and you guys from time to time can go out there if you know somebody that has a boat or something like that. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's a mandatory thing. You come here, you got to find somebody who has a boat. And I've met my few share of friends who have boats and jet skis and all of the above. And that's perfect. Honestly, going to the last part, I want to talk about Kirk, the dad and the person who I've gotten to know. Obviously, for those who don't know, his son plays with me here at Clemson. He's a receiver. Then now you also have a younger son at Ohio State. And so obviously last year this wasn't the case, but if we so happen to play Ohio State this year, what is going through your mind as a dad? And obviously you're an alum, so you got a lot of tensions to manage there. What goes through your mind as a dad?
Well, when you're doing the game, thankfully you're so occupied with the thought of your analysis that you're not really caught up in that aspect of it. Before the game, like a couple years ago when you guys played Ohio State, I didn't have a son on the Ohio State team, but having sons on the Clemson team and being a former captain of Ohio State, before the game, we're Ohio State family, so we were having fun with it. And then even after the game, Clemson won the game, and the kids were were excited for Clemson, and my other two sons were heartbroken. And so there was a little bit of that, but like during the game, yeah, I'm locked in, man. I mean, I am completely, for 3.5, 4 hours, it's all about analyzing you guys as players and just being fair and being objective. For whatever reason, I don't have I think because I pour so much into like this stuff. Like, this is my board for my game.
It's like, that's your call sheet? Like your broadcasting call sheet? Yeah. This
is Ohio State call sheet. No, this is Penn State and Auburn for this week. But when this is done, you won't be able to see any white on it. Usually it's just covered with notes. And so when you pour everything you got into a game, like you do as a player, you know how it is. Like, your mom could be on the other side of in a uniform, and you're just doing your job.
I'm zoned in. Like, you don't hear 80,000 people. I'm looking at the signal call. I'm getting a call. And it's, yeah.
That's exactly the best way to frame it is, what's the call? What are we doing? Like, it takes all your energy just to do that, right? That you don't have time to think about all the other stuff. Before the game, absolutely. After the game, absolutely. And then during, it's go time.
All right, so you alluded to we won in 2019 and 2020. What'd you say to the guys after we took a devastating loss to Ohio State? Did you feel a little bit like, yeah, like I told you know what I'm saying, flexing muscles just a little bit to the guys?
No. My son Chase, who's in 9th grade, he's most obnoxious Ohio State fan of all time, and he was of course he was crying when Clemson beat him out in Phoenix, out in Glendale.
Right.
And so it was the middle of COVID and not a lot of people were traveling. And he was like, in fact, I got COVID like 4 days before that game. And so I couldn't travel. I called that game from my basement. They sent all this equipment, and Chase was like, I hope you feel better. I'm going to the game. Like, I have to go to the game. So he went to the game with some friends of ours, and you remember that stadium. It was really eerie. It was weird, that everything was weird last year, but that game didn't have a lot of fans, and yet he was there because he had to see it. And I think Ohio State, they put everything in the middle of a global pandemic into avenging the loss from the year before. And if you watched how they played against Alabama, it looked like their season was over.
Yeah, mission was accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, but it was I'm very careful not to poke in the seat that I'm in. But I was happy for Ohio State after the way they had lost the year before.
What do you see, like, as a dad? Like, obviously I don't know if you could take the Kirk college game day hat off, but like, as a dad, you got two sons at two premier schools. Like, what's the difference in the cultures? Did you feel like I guess, like, just when you see,
I would say you would, if you did my job and you got around Ryan Day, I think you would see that they're actually more similar than they are different. I don't know if I would have said that before. When Urban was there, it was a very different vibe.
Right.
And Urban's very successful. I mean, he's won a ton of national championships, and his way is very intense year round. And with Coach Day, it doesn't feel. I mean, they're obviously intense, but it doesn't feel the same way. Like if you go to the facility on a Tuesday, you just kind of, well, hey, what's up, man? Just like I would do if I were at Clemson. And when Urban was there, it was a little bit more like, is everything, we allowed to come down this hallway? Is everything okay?
Right? You felt a little tension.
Yeah, not just me, everybody. Whether you're a player, assistant coach, like it was just a different kind of thing. And it worked. I mean, they won a ton of games, with him. And, I think the type of people that Ohio State recruits and the type of people that Clemson recruits, they remind me of very similar type of guys, They all have hopes and aspirations of going to the NFL, but most, have things, I don't know, there's a certain class to them. There's a certain, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to name schools on here, but there's certain schools that you play against probably that you're like, I don't know if I don't know if he would fit in on our sideline. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not saying that you guys are choir boys. I'm just saying, I don't know. I just sense respect when I'm around both those teams.
What do you want for both of your sons as far as the college football players? What's like as a dad, like what do you want them to experience in their college football journey?
So as a dad, you want your kids to find their path, and whether they play and they start or they don't play. As a dad, I don't tell my guys that, but that's not important to me. I mean, I hope they play for them, but I want them to be around a program where you guys get incredible people that come and speak to you, not to mention Coach Sweeney and Coach Venables and all the assistants. You get so many messages reinforced that align with my philosophies as a dad that I've taught them since they were kids. And so to hear other men pouring into their hearts about values and what's important in life, that's what it's all about. So, and learning about adversity and overcoming it, and things aren't always going to go my way, and still fighting through it and getting on the other side of that. And if they play on top of that, great. And if they don't, I'm good. Like that's not what it's about for me. So I just want them to have a great experience and be a part of a great culture. And enjoy themselves. And like I said, learn about a lot about themselves going through tough times.
It's funny how like God and like how everything plays out. So you may not remember this. It actually might have been the Louisville game, my redshirt year. So I'm trying to on this podcast walk people through just the journey of college sports, because I feel like a lot of people just don't know some of the ins and outs. And like, so I redshirted, and usually you redshirt if you're not going to play right away, especially if you're a walk-on. And I was this wide-eyed kid who was coming to Clemson on a dream. Just happy to be on the team. Like you said, I was on a scout team, busting my tail, getting beat up by D1. Like first-round guys every day. Just trying to make the team better. So 2016, you guys came, and like whenever they come to practice. College game day crew, they come to practice, hang out. And I remember just like seeing you guys on the sideline after like a Thursday practice, walk through practice. And I went up to you. I'm 18 years old. Introduced myself to you. Like, hey, I'm Darien Richard. I think I asked, like, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? You gave me a really good answer. But just to see how, like, everything's transpired since that moment. Like, your kids come here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally crazy. Like,
weird. That's crazy.
I become friends with your kids. You become a Clemson fan. Like, you call my games. And, like, there was – my grandma has never been more proud than I forgot which game it was, but you gave me like the biggest shout out. And it was some game last year. And my grandma from St. Louis she's been in like one or two Clemson games because it's so far away. She doesn't fly anymore, whatever. But she was sitting at home in St. Louis, and she was like, "This guy Kirk Herbstreit, like I don't know who you are." She's like, "This guy Kirk Herbstreit is saying so many nice things about you." She's like, "Baby, you're so special." So I just think it's
That's cool.
Yeah, just like how. Like college football is a small world, how everything comes full circle. So I just want to say thank you for being who you are. And obviously it's been cool just to have you on the show. And lastly, I get every guest. I'm only every guest. You're my third guest. Definitely getting bigger and better as we go along. But just I kind of tell people like, hey, why should they listen to me to the show? Like you've been on it, like just whatever you want to say. Just signing off.
Well, I think your experiences, you got a really interesting perspective. You've not only been through the system, like I said, keep going back to, you've been paying attention. For you to come up to me, that says a lot about you as a freshman. To first of all know who I am, to have interest in that, to ask me some questions. I mean, that's powerful, and it says a lot about just you as a person. And I think that's one example of thousands that you've had in your time that you've been there. And so I think you've really digested a lot of stuff, whether it's listening to a speaker come and talk to you, watching Trevor at a critical fourth down and come over during a TV timeout. You're not a guy that's down there like, yeah, what are we doing? Like you're right there. You know what I mean? Like, so you've consumed a lot of really cool stuff. And now all those experiences, you're on the back end of those. Who knows how 2021 will end for you on an individual basis or this team. And now you've got this inquisitive mind, not just respectfully NIL. I think it's more about you're getting reps about maybe something you're going to do for your future. And so I think it's all kind of tied together. And I look forward to seeing, where this will go for you and the reps you'll get by the end of this season. We'll get to the first of the year. You and I will circle back during bowl season and you'll be like, dude, it's unbelievable. I've done 20 of these now or 30 of these now. It's so crazy. And I think it's the experience that you had and just your inquisitive mind that people should be intrigued by what you're going to do with this.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on. Kirk Herbstreit, you guys. Yeah, so that was Kirk Herbstreit, legend in college football. I appreciate him taking the time to speak to me, to speak to us here at the Players Club. And like we do every week, we're going to answer you guys' questions. And so if you have questions, send them in on any platform. We want to answer them. So here we are. Let's get into it. The mountaintops of Knoxville, Tennessee, Caleb Sparkman asked me the question, what made you decide to walk on at Clemson? Off the top of my head, I would say both my parents went to Clemson. So my dad ran track in the 80s at Clemson. My mom went to nursing school. And I'm from the area. Like I grew up 25 minutes from Clemson. So the orange and white has always been in my blood. For diehard Clemson fans, I was going to the games when there was no West End Zone. And we would take cardboard boxes and cut them up. And we would slide down the hill as little kids. I always dreamed about playing at Clemson since I was a little kid. Especially when Coach Sweeney took over, like during my middle school years, because to see the dynasty that he built, you turn on TV and it seemed like they were having fun, they were winning, and just like it was just different. Like something about it with the family feel. But I tore both my ACLs in high school, so that was big bummer. I tore my left ACL after a sophomore season, which is I had a really good year. So I rehab for 8 months, and a week before my junior season in a jamboree, like a little scrimmage game, I tear everything in my opposite knee. Like every L you can think of, PCL, MCL, ACL. So I missed my entire junior season. I kind of like had some smaller offers. I came back from my senior year and played well. I had some smaller offers to go to smaller schools. But in my head, I always felt like I was a Division I guy. But at the same time, those weren't on the table. So I was like, hey, either I'm making it at Clemson or I'm not going anywhere else. So I applied. I got it as a student. And I think it just, for me to walk on at Clemson, I think just to – I always pride myself on doing things at the highest level. And there's no higher level in college football than playing at Clemson. And so, this is why I came to Clemson, because I wanted to do these things, and I saw it happening. And then when I got here, it just took off. Like 2016, we won a championship. 2018, we won another championship. And all throughout that, we won every conference championship since I've been here. Like I said, luckily, I came back for a COVID year, and they let me come back. And so I'm coming back, and either I'm going to double up some fingers, or like I said, we may go on toes, but that would be a little weird. But at the same time, we got to find a room somewhere. Moving on, next question. Connor Williams from Toronto, Canada asked me, how do you get through times when you feel like you're at your lowest? That can be applied to many different contexts or circumstances, but I'll just give you the most recent one in my life. We came off a loss to Georgia. Obviously, you want to win every game, but it just didn't work out that way. It's not always reality. And so we play our first game, we lose to a top 5 team. Make sure that's clear. It wasn't the regular schmegular team. It was a top 5 team who has a chance to play for the title. And when it's all said and done, like we really just got tested and really just it doesn't make you feel that good. Like, honestly, like you don't really feel great after you hear all that stuff, all that negativity. But the biggest thing I say, like, what do I do in those moments is you got to respond. I think you always have two options, like in life, and this is a perfect example. Just football mirrors life in a lot of ways, but you gotta respond. And like this past weekend, I feel like we responded a good way. We bounced back, and with anything, you gotta learn how to bounce back. So I would say respond. And in all circumstances, you got two options. Either you can be the victim and be woe is me, or you can figure out a way to make this part of your story and it be the reason for the next success because you figure out how to manage the failure. All right, last one goes to the hometown favorite, Clemson, South Carolina. But Diane McKenzie says, do you have a favorite Clemson uniform combination? Yes, I do. I have two. I'm a big fan of Color Rush. So I love Military Appreciation Day. We go all purple. That all purple it just hits different. There's something clean about it. That all purple is like the Clemson staple. Like, it just looks like royalty, you know? And that's always our senior day, so it's always a sentimental day. Look. So I actually gonna get two of these. So this is actually my uniform from the purple uniform. We get it when you leave as a senior, but as you guys know, I came back for COVID year, so I'm gonna get two of these little things. The all orange is one of my favorites as well. The all orange is like, it just looks so bold and I don't know, it just looks dope. But a little bit on our uniform situation is Coach Swinney used to play Alabama. Like, that's where he grew up. He's from Alabama. But a lot of our ways have come from the way Alabama has done things, or the way that he was instilled. And one of those things is, you look at Alabama, look at our program. Like, we're one of the top two premier programs that doesn't have any uniform alternations or alternative. Home games were white pants, orange jerseys. Away games we wear white jerseys, white pants. You look at Alabama, home games they wear that maroon jersey, those white pants. Away games they wear those white jerseys and those white pants. And the philosophy really is, they like, hey, like, there's a lot of things to worry about. We're not going to worry about our uniforms. We're going to worry about how we play. And who's going to argue with Nick Saban or Dabo Swinney on what it takes to build a winning culture? Not me. Yes, that's been week 3 at the Players Club. Want to thank my man Kirk Herbstreit, the man, the myth, the legend. Always has wonderful insight and perspective, so I appreciate it for coming on and taking time. And then next, like, getting into week 3, start conference play this week against Georgia Tech. And as you guys know, like, conference play is when it really gets going, because that's what matters as far as like where you end up postseason, and if you get a chance to compete for your conference title. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to bringing you guys all that good stuff. And like always, guys, hey, like, subscribe, comment, share to whoever, and follow along for the journey. Seriously, it's gonna be great. You can see we're getting better, getting bigger, better. We got microphones now. We're getting good guests, all the above. So y'all stay tuned. That's been week 3 at the Players Club, a podcast by the players for the people. You guys have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.